Today we're going to take this beautiful MOOG Sub 37 patch that I created and we are going to recreate it with Ableton instruments and Ableton effects only. So let's go. Hey everyone, this is Attila from the 16 bar. Now there's one very cool thing that I really like to do and I recommend for everybody to do this is when I create a patch on a synthesizer, whether that be a hardware one or inside Ableton, a VST synth, then I go and try to recreate the exact same sound with other synthesizers. I recommend that you do this because this is going to help you learn about sound design tremendously. You're going to learn about your own equipment, you're going to learn about your own software, and it's just going to enhance your skills as a producer. So without further ado, let's jump into Ableton and let me show you around what we have here. Okay, so here we go in Ableton. I actually have the sound coming from the MOOG Sub 37, and this is our initial patch. This is what we are going to replicate. Let's listen to it again. I have one MIDI track and this is our MIDI master and there is only one MIDI clip and all the other MIDI tracks are being triggered from this one MIDI master track. Okay, so let's have a look at the Sub 37 to see what sort of patch we are working with. Okay, so the MOOG Sub 37's architecture is as follows. It has two oscillators and a white noise generator. It also has a sub oscillator. It has a variable slope filter, so you can choose from 6, 12, 18, and 24 dB filter slopes. And the filter has its own envelope generator section, and the amplifier also has its own envelope generator. So in this patch, we are using both oscillators. They are both on full blast. Also using the sub oscillator and a little bit of noise. We're using the saw wave on both oscillators, and they are just a little bit detuned. The filter is turned all the way down and we have the envelope generator amount at about 2 o'clock. Now we have on the filters envelope, we have a very short attack, a fairly short decay, a medium level of sustain, and then about a 600 millisecond release. And the amplifiers envelope also has a very short attack, a little bit longer decay, a little bit higher sustain, and about the same amount of release. Now this is all important information to know because we're going to be using this to recreate the patch in Ableton. Before that though, I want to show you another patch which I created on Oscar, the big guy behind me, and it goes as such. Let's have a closer look. So to duplicate the MOOG Sub 37's architecture, again I'm using two oscillators tuned to the same octave and detuned just slightly. Then I'm using a third oscillator 1 octave below, and this serves as our sub oscillator. I'm also using a noise generator because the original patch has a little bit of noise. Everything is fed into a mixer, and then from the mixer it goes through the Polaris filter, and then from the filter it goes to a VCA module, and then from the VCA module it goes back to the mixer. Now the filter itself and the VCA modules, much like on the Sub 37, are being modulated with two separate envelopes. The top envelope generator is modulating the filter and the bottom one is modulating the voltage controlled amplifier, much in the same manner as the Sub 37's filter envelope and VCA envelope. So let's get back. Now I've already recreated this with 3 different Ableton instruments. So Sub 37 and Ableton's analog. From the analog, let's go to the operator. So yet another Ableton instrument, recreating the exact same sound, more or less the exact same sound. And then from operator, let's go to wavetable. Alright, so let's redo this whole thing again with the analog. So I'm going to open a brand new MIDI track. And let's color this the same as the original. And let's call it analog. So we are going to take the analog and put a initial patch on the MIDI track. Now we are going to draw the MIDI from MIDI Master, and we are going to enable monitoring. So as I had mentioned before, the Sub 37's architecture is as follows. It has 2 oscillators, a noise generator, and it does have an option to play sub-frequencies an octave below of oscillator 1. So we are going to do the same thing here. Oscillator 1 and 2 are enabled. We are going to enable noise. Now, the best way to go about this is to go to the last step here on the analog device. And here, actually, we can choose between different routings. Now, the MOOG Sub 37's architecture follows the path where the 2 oscillators go through one filter, and then from that filter, they go through the amplifier and then to the external word. So we are going to pick this one right away, which is going to put our analog device into the configuration that we're going to need it for. Let's go back to oscillator 1 and let's detune it a little bit. Not by a lot, just a couple of cents here. Okay, next step is gonna be assigning some envelopes. So let's go to the amp envelope and dial in. Very quick attack. Our decay was about 600 milliseconds on the Sub 37. We are going to raise the sustain a little bit, and the release again was somewhere around 600 to 700 milliseconds. So this is our amplifier. Now let's go to the filter and dial in our filter envelope. Again, a very short attack. Decay at 626 milliseconds should be fine. Let's bring the sustain up a bit, and our release is gonna have to be about 600 milliseconds again. Now let's lower the cutoff frequency of the filter to about 900 to 1000 cycles and dial in some envelope. Okay, let's compare it to the original patch. So the next thing we need to do here, obviously you can hear that the original patch has a lot more sub-frequencies in it. So we are going to bring up the sub-oscillator. Perfect. New patch. Now, a couple of more things that we are going to need to do is, first of all, let's make sure that our synth is a mono synth, just as the Sub 37. And let's enable glide. Let's detune the oscillators a bit more. I think our amp envelope needs a bit more sustain. And so does the filter. And the last thing we're going to need to do is enable legato mode on the filter as well as on the amp envelope. Okay, so let's compare it to the original MOOG Sub 37 patch. Maybe a bit more noise. Try a bit more detuning. Okay, MOOG Sub 37. And then our new patch. That's about right. Okay, let's add back the effects. Alright, so let's listen to all the patches again. The one from Oscar. The one from the Sub 37. The patch that we just created in analog. The patch I recreated with the operator. Now this one again just follows the architecture of the original patch. I'm using the last algorithm where there is no FM synthesis happening in the operator, so each and every oscillator is basically on its own. So oscillator 1 and 2s represent the MOOGs. First and second oscillator. Oscillator number 3 would be the sub-oscillator, and number 4 is the one that I'm using as a white noise generator. The envelopes are very much the same as what we created on the analog for the amplifiers as well as for the filter. And last but not least, we have glide enabled on this patch as well. From the operator, let's move on to the wavetable. Now with the wavetable again, we are using both oscillators. They are both using the sawtooth waveform. The sub-oscillator is enabled. Now call me crazy, but somehow I wasn't able to find a standalone white noise generator on the wavetable. So basically I copied the original analog patch and I created a new chain in this instrument group, and then I turned off oscillator 1 and 2 and I only left the noise oscillator on, and I mixed those two together just to create the same white noise effect that we have on all the other synthesizers. The amp envelope and the filter envelope are very much the same, and they have more or less the same settings as on the previous patches. As you can hear, it is fairly similar to all the others. So that's all I have for today. I hope you found this video interesting and entertaining. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below. My name is Attila from the 16 Bart. Thanks very much for staying right until the end, and please don't go too far because the next video is right around the corner. Ciao.